And, Kevin, we're going to get into quite a bit of baseball today.
Yeah, and obviously because the baseball team is kind of forcing that issue, which is
Beautiful
just
thing.
Absolutely playing out of their minds right now and winning games. To be honest, like last night, they had no right winning for 8 innings.
It didn't look like it, and yet they still found a way to do it. I'm the lineup producing right now, big for that team, Kyle Schwarber. We're going to get into, coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, some audio about the NL MVP race that you're going to want to hear because it's going to annoy the you-know-what out of you. And if it doesn't annoy you, trust me, it already annoyed Kevin enough where you're going to hear about it.
It's like hearing acting advice from Frank Stallone.
Let's start today with the NL East race.
Yeah.
Because we wake up today, the Phillies are up 6 games on the Mets, and it is getting to that time of the year where you are more than welcome to not only look at the standings, but to put stock in them. August 12th, we are closing in on that stretch run, and leads to the question of whether or not this division race is slowly ending or quickly coming to an end as the Mets continue to Met. And yesterday, I saw this. Chris Rose does his show, and he does it, podcast throughout the week. And one of the things they talked about was whether or not this race was coming to an end. And they brought in this clip from Brandon Nimmo, who was asked over the last couple of days if he felt like the division was slipping from the Mets. Take a listen to what Nimmo had to say.
No, I mean, we can go on a run. I mean, we still got time, but, it just takes putting it together, playing some good baseball. But no, I don't think the division is slipping away.
So it begs the question, is the division slipping away from the Mets? Have the Phillies wrapped this one up on August 12th?
They haven't wrapped it up because they're playing the 7 against each other head-to-head. But every number that you crunch points heavily to the Phillies. Phillies, if they play 500 the rest of the way, they win 91 games. The Mets would have to go 29-15 to pass them. 18 of the Phillies' final 44 are against teams that are currently at or above 500. 25 of the 44 for the Mets are for teams at or above 500, including 19 straight in September. It's not over, again, because of the head-to-heads, the 7 head-to-heads. And the Mets have played well against the Phillies. It's getting damn close. It really is. And then the conversation turns to, can you get a bye?
And I heard today on the morning show in that 9 o'clock hour talking about attacking that bye, and that's where you really, honestly, where I want to see them chasing in September is chasing that 2 seed, or, if you get a chance to get the 1. But to be clear on this one, when you say it's close to over, I understand all the numbers you're throwing at me. If they go 500 the rest of the way, they end up a 91-win team, it would take a lot for the Mets to overtake them. And I understand just how difficult the Mets schedule is the rest of the way. When I start to hear let's ask the Mets player if it's slipping away, or, is it over in August, I get very uneasy. I don't know what it is. I should trust this team to go take care of business, go 500 the rest of the way, but I think this thing is still far from over.
It's getting close, though, because of the trend lines. If it was the Mets surging and the Phillies slipping, and I gave you those numbers, I would say, okay, that's doable.
Right.
Because of the fact that the Mets are playing so poorly right now. And the Phillies are starting to carry that look of a team that is just going to do enough things to win games. The Giants did it for years. You could say, in a lot of ways, the Phillies did it in 22. That's kind of the way they're looking at this point.
I understand what you're saying when you talk about the way they look, and it does feel a lot better.
By the way, with 2 of their top 3 starters not really performing at their highest level.
And that leads me to some of the concerns I'll get into in a second. But when you talk about them taking care of business, I love the fact of what they've done. They win again last night. I was complaining.
Bottom of the lineup.
I was the guy that was sitting there like, why don't they finish off sweeps? Well, what do they do over the weekend? They go to somewhere they never win. And I was going back and forth with a friend of mine who's actually a Mets fan, and was like, before the weekend, I was like, well, you guys don't have to worry about us gaining ground in Texas. They never win in Texas. And he texted me something I can't read on the air Sunday night when the dust all cleared after the weekend because of the way things went for the Phillies. And looking at the way things are going for them, I totally agree. They have the look of the team that's going to really take this thing to the end, and we're going to be talking about divisional, where they fit in the divisional round, whether or not they get that bye. But I will say, for everything you line up, and I saw, you brought the numbers up of, again, being 500, the strength of the schedule. The Mets did have a 28-15 stretch to open the season. They are a team capable of putting together.
They won 7 in a row before they went on this losing streak. They won 7 in a row.
And they have had stretches where they've been incredibly hot and incredibly cold. You think about just in June, they had a 5.5 game lead. They were up. They were the ones on that side of the table 2 months ago. And then within a week, that entire 5.5 game lead dissipated because they went on another one of these cold stretch. They are similarly built. Like the complaints we have about the Phillies, we could strip away the team name, go on the air in New York, and we would be talking about similar of what we're complaining about. Their strengths, I love the Phillies pitching staff. I love their starting rotation more than I love what the Mets have.
I was just going to say, that's the biggest difference. The starting pitching for the Phillies as opposed to the starting pitching of the Mets is why I think it's unlikely the Phillies go on a slump that allows them back in the race.
Unless our concerns about Wheeler and Suarez are founded. And that's the one thing where I don't want to...
I'm the one guy in town who's not real worried about Wheeler. I'm not.
I don't want to be worried about Wheeler. I'm not worried about what he's going to bring you in October. I'm worried that here in the regular season, you're going to have to shut him down.
I'm okay with that.
But that impacts, like every turn through the rotation where you don't have Wheeler and you have someone else filling in for Wheeler, that's a lower level starting pitcher starting that game.
If the guy coming in for Wheeler is Aaron Nola, it's not a big deal in my mind.
Well, assuming Nola's back to what he is.
Right. It's not that like you're replacing him with like some AAA kid who I think if they do shut Wheeler down, and I don't think that's a given.
No, I don't think it's a given either.
But if they do shut Wheeler down, it's mainly because to avoid the roster crunch that may develop here in the next couple of weeks of trying to get just to the finish line, with all their pieces in play.
This is a man that heard my crazy theory yesterday, or didn't, and is also thinking along the same lines with me.
Probably.
Because that was something we're going to get into later on, because I had a whole big thing. I had the map out everything of how the starts break out. And
is it like the conspiracy cork board where everything circles?
I had everything set up, and I was like, this is how they could do it to manage the pitching staff so they don't have to make a decision until September, and we'll get to it.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's a decision they can make within this week, and if you didn't hear it yesterday, we'll get to it coming up. But I'm curious for people out there at 610-632-0975. We're going back and forth here on this idea of whether or not the NL East race feels like it's coming to its close. I can't get to that place because, again, you mentioned the head-to-head, still having 7 against these teams, still having 4 of those games being in September. I can't get there, and especially if they shut down Wheeler, one of the times they will face the Mets, they will lose a Wheeler start against the Mets, which is, it's a difference. It's a difference. I understand you're putting Nola into this rotation. I still want to see him get back to what he's supposed to be. There's a reason we're not talking about him being one of the postseason starters. If we expected Aaron Nola of old, we'd be saying, all right, well, Aaron Nola is definitely going to be a postseason starter.
I think it's more likely that they shut down Suarez than it is Wheeler.
And if that's the case, maybe you're talking about a comparable return in terms of getting Nola back versus what you've had with Suarez recently. But just to lay this out for you, when you look at the New York Mets and what they've been this season, they did have that impressive start to the season. They do have that top of the lineup that I think you also, just being a baseball guy, understand just what they can get from that lineup if they get hot, including Brandon Nimmo, who says he doesn't feel like it's slipping away. It's certainly slipping away from them, but I don't feel like it's getting as close to a close as I think you do.
Again, and it might be just one of those things of you watch trend lines, you watch body language, everything. The body language for the Mets right now is just so bad that I do believe that we've almost hit breaking point with this, even before you get to Phillies Mets in a couple weeks. Like, would it surprise you if the Braves go to Citi Field and take 2 or 3?
I see that Braves team. Speaking of body language, a team that's close.
Oh, it's awful.
If the Braves go up there and take 2 or 3, we're going to be revisiting this conversation as, wow, the Mets really do need some help right now.
Yeah, they do.
But I think that the barometer will be, for me, them going up to New York, because I was up there in New York for one of the games, and they looked lifeless back in April when they got swept by the Mets. They go up to New York, take 2 or 3. I think that's the time when I would be able to start to tell you, okay, I think they've got this wrapped. Let's focus on the Dodgers. Okay. I just don't want to do it yet because I think there is upside with that Mets team that if they click into it, we're talking about a very interesting 6 weeks.
I get you.
So I'm curious, though, for the people out there at 610-632-0975, do you feel like we're starting to hit the close of this NL East race and starting to look at the bigger picture of the rest of the National League? And coming up, speaking of the National League, Kevin sent me this.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, let me just say that. NL MVP conversation. Guy with the last name Verlander, not Justin. Talking about the NL MVP. You're going to want to hear Kevin react to this one coming up next. He's Kevin Cooney. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Thanks for watching. I love these outro videos because I can actually talk with my hands and it looks normal here. So subscribe right here and watch some more videos for us. How about it?